Okay, so a couple of years ago, I decided to create a YouTube channel in which I could explain my reasons why I believe in God and why I believe in Christianity. And so I came out with about 10 videos, but I didn't cover everything. The reasons that I covered were more like, this is evidence for God's existence. And I didn't really cover areas that tend to be areas of question and doubt. And so I decided that I needed to start and do a little bit of that. And so the area that I decided to cover is the question of pain and suffering. The late Billy Graham, when asked what question he is most often asked, indicated that it was the problem of pain and suffering. He was most commonly asked that question. And I think that's still true today, that we look at the world and all the pain and suffering and everything that's in it, and we say, well, if God is so great, then couldn't he eliminate all of that? And if he's so good, how can he not do it? And so that has become a statement of question that is sort of very, very common in the world today. I want to continue and provide some of my observations about this question. I am not nearly as qualified to address this, and it's a difficult question. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few of my observations, and then in the explanation page below, I'll put some links that I'm recommending. And I would really encourage you to look at those links, at least a couple of them, because there is a couple of really good videos in that. So I'll just give you some of my observations. We feel that suffering is bad. If it hurts, we don't like it. That can be physical or emotional. Anytime a person is made to hurt one way or another, it's got to be bad, right? It's got to be evil. At least that's how we feel about it. Well, what kinds of things can cause pain and suffering? Well, there's cruelty of person to person, and that's the primary thing. We create a lot of harm to each other, whether it be in wars or crime or just being rude. That can create a lot of emotional and physical pain. The sins of our sins and the sins of others. In fact, we can really create a lot of pain for ourselves just by our own sins. And so that's kind of an observation. Some other reasons why pain and suffering occur is like health problems. And so why does there have to be health problems? And then natural disasters. You know, if I build my house on a shore of the ocean and a tsunami comes on and destroys it, then that causes pain and suffering. And a lot of people lose their lives with that kind of thing, and with earthquakes. And so what is that all about? Why does God have to be here? What function does that serve? Well, in the case of natural disasters, the answer to that question is fairly easy. Given the kind of world we live in, the natural world, based on chemicals and the laws of thermodynamics and those things, and sort of make it necessary that in order for our Earth to be sufficient, have sufficient elements and plate tectonics and everything, in order for our Earth to support life over a long period of time, these natural disasters are the Earth's way of righting itself. There are just hundreds of different factors about our Earth and the universe in general that had to be just exactly right in order for not only life to exist, but for intelligent life, such as we are, to exist. And so that's just kind of comes with the territory. Now, the thing that when it comes to avoiding natural disasters, there's a lot that we can do ourselves to avoid that, such as not building your house right out on the ocean, or not moving to a state that has a lot of tornadoes, or staying out of a floodplain. So there are lots of things that we can do to lessen that. And so why? I mean, God could have made human beings to be always good, always worshipful of Him, always follow His leading and follow the path of life that He indicates is the best for us. You know, He's our creator, okay? But He didn't create us to just rebel against Him and to hurt each other, and that's not His intent to create us that way. But He could have. But what would we be if we were created in such a way that we are incapable of evil? Well, I think the definition of that would be called robots. If we were pre-planned, like puppets on a, whatever you call that puppetry, the leader of the puppet is able to make that puppet do everything. Now, is that something, ask yourself, is that something that you would enjoy? Is that something that you would want? Or do you want to be created in such a way that you have the right to make choices? We can, and that's why God made us to be in such a way that we can make our own choices. He wants us to love Him because He loves us. He wants us to be thankful for His creating us. He wants us to be filled with love for others in the way that He is. And that's what He wants. But He gives us a choice. We can choose not to be those things. A world that has the possibility of being hurting people, that world is going to have pain and suffering. Ask yourself the question that we're exposed to, is that horrible for us? It's painful, but is it horrible for us? Or is it a means by which we can become more like Him, a means by which we can achieve? I am a great reader of Louis L'Amour Westerns, and I've been through all of his books several times. And I don't remember what book it was in, but there was a paragraph in one of his books and I don't have any reason to believe that Louis L'Amour was a Christian, but he was saying, what if all the difficulties we have in this life is to make us stronger, to make us build, to make us accomplish things? And I think that's a good question to be asking. Another good thing about pain is, what's it tell you? It's a warning that something is wrong. Emotional pain is a warning that there's something wrong in you, or there's something wrong in your relationships. Physical pain is a sign that there's something wrong. You have an infection, there's health problems, or you have a broken arm or whatever. If we didn't feel pain in a situation where we have the right to choose, and whether there is good and evil, it's really important that we have a warning system that tells us that we need to change our course of action. And so that's another use of pain and suffering. The other thing is that, when you think of eternity, how long is this life? Is it worth living this life in this world with the pain and suffering that goes on and leading us to a eternal happiness and bliss? If we looked at it that way, we tend to look at it as our lives are the thing. That's the only thing, and you gotta live it full tilt. And when you're done, you're done. And so you better put everything into it, which is not even always positive putting in. Truthfully, is just a short moment in time. The other thing is that when we sit around and complain, and I know a young English student, he's graduated now, and he told me that if God actually came and appeared to him, he would have a whole lot of questions he was asking. And they wouldn't be polite questions either. He was setting himself up to be God's judge. Isn't that what we're doing when we say, well, I can't believe in God because of the evil and suffering? How smart are you? How smart am I? Do we really understand God's purposes in the long run, for the long haul? No, we don't. And in fact, probably the best example in the Bible, most common example in the Bible, is Job. Job, all kinds of horrible things happened to Job. Job is asking God, why? And God replied, then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? So he's saying to Job, hey, you're not as bright as you think you are. I know the beginning and the end. I know everything. I have a plan that's working its way along, and you need to trust me. And so, does this answer all my questions? No, it doesn't. But when I see in the scriptures, I see a loving God, a just God, and over again. And so I have to just trust him that he knows a whole lot more about the whats and whys of things than I do. YouTube videos that I'm recommending, and one of them is a sermon by a pastor of a church of the Resurrection in Kansas City. He's Adam Hamilton, and he preached several sermons on helping thinking Christians. He covered this topic in one of his messages, and I provided that link. Also another link that I would, this is not highly intellectual or doesn't lose you. You can follow his reasoning pretty well. And then there's a Christian theologian and philosopher, William Lane Craig, and he has debated some of the best known atheists in the world, numerous debates, and has done very, very well. And he has put out an animated video to try to explain how can a good God allow suffering and evil. And that's going to be listed below. Then beyond that, there's a book by C.S. Lewis, The Problem of Pain, and Why Bad Things Happen to Good People by Harold Kushner. And so these are a few links that I would recommend. These guys will be able to provide you with a lot more lucid explanation of these reasons. But those are my observations, and I thank you for coming and listening to me. I would recommend you look at all these links. They're actually really good. So thank you for watching, and may God be with you.